the Path Radio Spotlight is frontman, the powerful, diverse, and captivating voice for the new hot band, Crashing Wayward, who has been charting their new music and just released a new album titled Listen. Welcoming to the show, Peter Summit. Peter, thanks so much for connecting with me tonight. How are things going?
Yeah. Well, awesome. And thank you, Guido, for having me. And yeah, we're just about to get ready for our album release show tomorrow, which we can talk about more later, but that's where I'm coming from right now. So,
and
yeah.
Peter, where is that? Where are you? Where's this happening?
Las Vegas. So, yeah, we're all based out of Las Vegas. We're kind of like a Las Vegas based band. And of course, we got to launch the album and the party here in Las Vegas. So
right on. You're just continuing. Vegas has been partying for weeks now since the Golden Knights won the cup, and this is just a great continuation, right?
Yeah, this is, I think, the official continuation to the Golden Knights party. At least that's what I like to think in my own universe, you know.
No, man,
But
it's a
yeah.
golden event.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, so Peter, I gotta ask just before we get too deep into music, and if anybody's listened to some of my other shows, I always add a little family component to this, right? So, your name, my dad's name is Peter.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I was like, oh wow, like every time I encounter that, I was like, my dad's name is Peter, so it's a great name, like
cool. Yeah.
yeah. Do you have like family lineage to your name or?
No. It's a funny story about my name. Growing up when I was younger, I was never a fan of it. It was like the perfect name to get teased on the playground. So as I got older, I started to embrace it. And now I'm like pretty stoked and happy with my name. I don't see too many Peters, meet too many Peters, and it's one of those kind of cool names that people like to use a British accent to. So, I dig it.
It's it's a cornerstone name. If I go off my dad, it's a cornerstone name, And I can relate with a name like Guido and maybe getting made fun of a little bit when I was younger, but
Right.
But it's unique, I've accepted it, and now it's hard to not know who Guido is, So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, look, let's get to some music. I gotta say congrats on the new songs, the new album, Listen, along with the guys from Crashing Wayward. How does it feel to get the album out?
It truly feels surreal, when we can, especially the day that it came out. It just was 2 years in the making. Originally, we didn't really conceive it to be an album, because the way that music is these days, it's just like, oh, let's go in and track, release some singles and see what happens. But the more we started working on it and put more thought into it, it really felt like it deserved its own album, as opposed to just kind of like the waterfall of single releases, which a lot of bands do, which is, nothing wrong with that. Personally, I love picking up an album. I love seeing a body of work, and especially if I can get the physical product and be able to open it and read the lyrics and the credits and have that experience that, I'm kind of like on that tail end of the generation where it just became all digital, so I'm still a physical kid at heart, and my kids are too. I actually have 3 daughters, and they collect records, and so they're all about it. Yeah, so it's a blessing. We feel blessed to be able to put it out there finally, and we're very proud of it. So we're just kind of I feel like we're just scratching the surface, just like softly scratching the surface of who we have reached so far, and there's still so much work to do. And I really feel like we created something in my heart, and I can speak on behalf of my band, something that's timeless, at least that's how I really truly feel about this.
I'll listen, Peter, as a fan, if I just put my hat on as a fan, and I'm going to talk about hats a little bit later, but if I just put on my hat as a fan, love that it's a full, 11 song album. I'm a traditionalist, so me too. I want to feel it, touch it, smell it. Like I like the, you know, the opening and the smelling of it, and the visual. And if this was, you know, many years ago, and I had my cassette tape and I had bought the cassette, I probably would have worn out my first tape by now, just from listening to
Right.
the songs over and over and over, because they are so strong and they're so unique. You know, and I want to talk about the title. I get ahead of myself here a little bit, but
No, no,
yeah, let's talk about Listen for a second. Like, why did you guys call it Listen?
it was because we feel like, you know, especially now going back to kind of how things are today with like social media and
Yeah.
how quick people are to just like, you know, pass something over, or, you know, you got this, like Andy Warhol said it was 15 minutes. Now it's like 5 seconds, you know? So we wanted to capture something visually, not just about the album art, but also what the messages that we're trying to convey in the album, because you know, these songs are about everything from, you know, intolerance to suicide, mental health, like super relatable. I think that is super relatable to almost everybody that's out there that will listen to it. So we're really trying to capture everybody to give it a chance, because, you know, things are so quick to be clicked over or moved on. But if people just stop and listen, there might be something that you can learn from it. And not just from this album. This is like the same kind of like advice I always give my kids when they go out and they meet new people and they're in new situations. Listen, don't try to overtalk somebody, but you're going to learn something, and you're going to learn about somebody or something or art or, you know, be educated if you stop and listen.
Listen.
So,
I say something similar to my own kids. I say, you know what? If you're always talking, you can't listen, right? If you
right.
don't get that opportunity. You know, for me, when I first saw the word listen, I use that word a lot in these interviews.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I'll be like, listen. And it's the moment where I'm saying to the person I'm talking to, I know we've talked about all these other things, but just listen to me for a minute, because I
Right.
really want to talk about something serious here. I want you to hear what I'm going to say to you. So listen. And when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, I use that word a lot. And in fact, I'll share this with you. I got one time I went on this job interview and I didn't get the job. And I'm glad. It's good. You know, sometimes unanswered prayers are a good thing, right? But the
Yeah.
feedback I got afterwards is one of the gentlemen said to me, man, you know, you use the word listen a lot. Like when you were about to answer the question, you'd say, okay, so listen, here's what, and da, 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 da. And I said, yeah, I probably do. And he, why would you do
Right.
that? And I said, well, because I want you to listen to me. And I'm trying to draw you in. He said, well, it sounds like you're interviewing me. I said, did that make you uncomfortable? Yes. Okay. Well, you know, it's okay.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
listen, yeah, man, listen. Um,
Honestly, like the way that you use it, though, not to interrupt, is I think
yeah,
a powerful thing, because you're coming down and you're like, it sounds like you're speaking from the heart, and you're giving
right.
your full attention, and you really want to convey something. So yeah, I mean, it's a powerful thing if people can listen. I think we can all learn a lot more
Yeah. And you
if
know, Peter, you just reminded me of something. When you talked about the album versus the, you know, the singles I'm not knocking singles. I get it. They have a place in where we are today. It's rare that we see the full album. When I listen to the album, you see, when I listen to the album, it's a story. Like you're telling a story. And
right.
I think that, you know, you can listen to them out of sequence, but it just kind of draws you in, and it takes you through some highs and lows. Like you start off with Mouth to God's Ear, right? Like it's the opening track or whatever. And it just takes you through that story. And if you're interested, if listeners are going, you know what, I want more than just that one snippet of the artist, this is it. You listen to this
Yeah.
album and you get that journey. You get to go on a ride with Crashing Wayward here, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think, like, when I was writing my lyrics, I was trying to I like to write from kind of like my perspective, but a like a neutral perspective, you know, like I'm really trying to like give observation to both sides of a situation, you know. And there are some songs that are straight just autobiographical, you know, autobiographical, you
Yeah.
know, about me as well. But I think, again, even in those, like, if it's about me, it can relate to somebody else, because we all go through almost all the same stuff, all situations. It just kind of comes in different shapes and sizes. So yeah, again, just kind of like trying to relate with everybody out there through this album, like, um I've been in previous bands before, and sometimes it's like, party rock, and there's nothing against it, but there's something more to Crashing Wayward than that. We've all done that, so yeah, I'm happy to be where we're at with this album.
Peter,
Sorry, I kind of often
no, I gotta ask, because you said, hey, I have kids, and you're a dad and all that stuff. Does that come through in this album? Do we get a little bit of Peter Summit dad voice in here, and in the performance and in the emotions and everything?
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one of my favorite songs of all time is Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure. And I feel like in that melody, in that performance by both of them, it is so emotional. And that is a song that I play for my kids. And I mean, whenever we play, I was actually just doing it in the car with my youngest daughter the other day, and we were both singing. She wanted to be Freddie Mercury, and I was David Bowie. So I did the Bowie, but at the end, I had to come in with my Freddie Mercury, and every time I get emotional. So when I'm writing, a lot of melodies that I do come up with, I'm really kind of like channeling that emotion as when I perform that song for my kids. Like, a lot of the melodies I do write, and that where I'm trying to take this soaring journey and just like this ride, a lot of that does come from that. I really put a lot of my own emotion into the performance, and lyrically, it's kind of like there's some things to kind of educate my girls on, like, look out for this, and for me, honestly, I just want to have something out there that lives forever that they can always reference when I'm not here. That's really like the most important thing to me above all, is to be able to have something that can live on for them when I'm gone.
You're reading my mind, because you made me think legacy, right? That's what you want. You want legacy, and
Right.
it's universal, and it's, primarily the muse is your kids, but it's so universal that we can all enjoy it and share it, and learn from it. Listen, I wanted to ask. Listen, I now every time I say it, I think of you guys.
No, it's good. I
Uh,
mean, this is great album promotion.
I mentioned earlier, I talked about I said a hat or whatever.
Yeah.
Stacey, when I talked with Stacey, he tells me his new hat, which is like a way cool hat. It's something that you
Yeah.
gifted him. Is that true? You gave that as a gift to him?
I did. I gifted him that hat. He deserved to have a big boy hat. And that is it's like, so my wife and I, we have an online vintage clothing. I love, it's all about curating fashion for me.
Yeah.
Hence why being a frontman was something I was always attracted to. It was like the guys that dress cool, David Bowie, Brian Ferry from, Roxy Music, and Lenny Kravitz. And I mean, these guys are just swaggering cool. And that's always spoke to me. So I love putting on a good vintage suit that nobody's going to have, and having an identity in that way. So through our brand, and I have it kind of goes back to the late 60s, 1969. My uncle owned a bar and restaurant called Home, and through that became really good spiritual friends with John Lennon. So my brothers and I opened up a store in San Diego in early 2002, and we had that for about 15 years. And since then, I kind of just got into fashion design here and there. And one of the hats that I gave Stacey was one of them. And it's legit. It's got beautiful buttersoft leather sweatband. It's beaver felt. So it's like it floats, it's water repellent. It's all handmade, sterling silver onk. my symbol, I love the Ankh symbol, which is kind of like
Right.
what I has adopted as my symbol, because it's the symbol of life, ancient Egyptian symbol of life. So of course I put that on there. So yeah, he deserved to have a good hat. And I felt like and he was stoked to get it, and he wears it well.
Yeah, he does. And for Stacey, like, and his musical arc and transition, the hat is just like, something new. It's like a new part of the journey, and it just suits him. It's like it's something where he should be.
Right.
I know people are like, Guido, this is a hat, but it's not just a hat. It's a bit of a transition. This
Yeah.
online, do you have an online store where anyone can shop at then, or?
Yeah, so we it's called thevault1969.com, and that's where we host vintage clothing right now. And also home, HOME 1969.com is kind of like the legacy brand, which is where we sell the classic home t-shirts and stuff. But a lot more stuff is coming. I'm kind of working on in hopes, designing and creating some of my own suits that I love, so that's kind of like where I want to go, that like niche, really like rock and roll legacy kind of fashion and style.
I love it. I'm going to have to check it out. I'm going to put those. So the vault1969.com and home1969.com are the two sites.
Yes.
I'll include those in the notes, and people are going to check them out. I got to check them out. I don't think there's a hat for this head, Peter, but I'm going to look around, because every hat except maybe there's like, I have this old ball cap that I used in college, and I refuse to get rid of it. It's a Labbatt's blue beer hat with a smiley face, and I think it's gonna fall apart real soon. But it's the only hat. Like, it's one of the few hats that I kind of wear around. So maybe it's time for a change for me too. But love the clothing idea. Love the clothing line idea. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Peter. So just sticking with Stacey for just a moment, I say the stupendous Stacey David Blades. When he and I chatted, one of his happy moments, he was just so happy to have you as the front man. He was excited, he was elated, all these great things he said about you. And he told me that when you guys were first chatting about this possibility, you said, "I'm your guy, Stacey." And I was thinking, Peter, what was it about talking to Stacey and this band that made you feel that you said those words, "Look, I'm your guy, let's do this," sort of thing,
Well, the funny thing about Stacey and I is that we actually go back about 20 years. And so it's kind of serendipitous. We talk about this often as it being kind of like a serendipitous union between us both. So my very, very first band out of San Diego started playing in LA. And at that time, Stacey was part of the LA scene. It was a very cool rock scene kind of happening at that time that was kind of like reignited by Buck Cherry. And it wasn't glam. It was just like kind of like a good street rock crew of people, and a lot of band at that time. So Stacey and I were very well acquainted at that time. And then we kind of lost touch for a couple of years, and I joined a different band called Daredevil Jones, and Stacey went on to do his LA Guns run. And the last time I saw Stacey was actually when my band Daredevil Jones played with LA Guns in Concord. We had just played with Angels and Airwaves in San Francisco the night before, and then LA Guns in Concord the next night. And that was the last time I saw Stacey. And you know what's funny is I believe when he saw me that day, he acted like he knew who I was, but he probably didn't remember. But so fast forward 15 years, a good friend, Steve Brundage, who was a super mega fan of Daredevil Jones, his wife even tattooed Daredevil Jones album cover on her body. And he's since become one of my best friends. But he was gung-ho nonstop trying to find a band for me. He said I was too damn good, and that the world deserves to hear and see me. And I got a text from him one day, and it was a screenshot. It was like a screenshot of Stacey's social media on Facebook, and it said, I got your guy. And I zoomed in, and it said Stacey David Blades. And I told Steve, I said, I think I know that guy. Tell him to give me a call. So he did. And I reconnected with Stacey after about 15 years. And at that time, I took a break from music for about 8 years and just focused on raising my kids, because I had it with the whole band life. Being in bands is super hard, super difficult, and finding the right chemistry of guys that are like in it to win it with you, the same mission and the same goal. And so when I spoke to him, I said, don't bother looking for anybody else. I'm your guy. And he took that as a major sign of confidence, like, hell yeah, let's do this. So I drove out to Vegas, I auditioned and got the gig, I think he was pretty excited as soon as he opened the door and saw me. He was like, tattoos and whatever. It's like, in his mind, I fit the bill probably just from that. But as soon as I started singing, I'm like, I'm gonna knock this guy out. And I did, and we laugh about it. It's like it's the greatest thing he's ever heard. He loves telling that story. So I love being a part of it.
I think you're right. And I think you made me think too. I was talking with Lisa S. Johnson, and she does the photography, 108 photography. Great lady, loved her, great author, great book. But she, her vision of you too is like, there's Peter Summit, and he's this tall, big presence, exactly what you want in a front man, like you see the band and he's out there, and so and I think Stacey alluded to that a little bit too, eh? So hey, you just brought in your tats into the conversation, right? You got some great artwork going there, right?
Oh yeah, thank you. It's funny because I was just having this conversation with Mike Squire, who is an amazing bass player and guitarist. He did some stuff with Duff McKagan and Loaded and Ugly Kid Joe and stuff. But we were talking about our tattoos, how we can date ourselves by our tattoos. And I wish, it's like, I love that it's like a timestamp. I'd probably do a little different now. Of course, it's like, your taste kind of changed and everything, but I'm proud of it. It took a while, when I first started getting tattooed, it was like, I could have been dressed to impress, but I was a hoodlum if I had tattoos back when I first started, so I'm glad it's more accepted and I can blend in the best I can.
It's changed. The whole idea of inking has changed. I don't have any at the moment, but I've been working on one that I'm hoping to get this fall. It'll be my first one, and maybe just something on the shoulder or something. It
there
goes
you go.
back to my Italian roots or whatever. So, but I'm scared, right? It's my first one, so I'm a little bit, I don't know, see what happens.
Yeah, my first ones, I said I would never do it again, but now look
really?
at me. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, look, talking about frontman and being a singer, and it's hard not to compare. And I get in this conversation quite a bit when I do these talks. It's hard not to compare, singers and people and bands and stuff. Do you ever get compared to Scott Weiland that you know
of? You know what? I do sometimes, in the way that, and first and foremost, that's a great compliment, because I think Weiland is one of the greatest of all time. So if anybody throws that at me, I'm going to accept it and embrace it. So I do, in a way. And, I think we're all inspired by something, right? So it's like, I know that my voice when I first started or even my stage presence when I first started, has greatly evolved to what it is now, where I feel like I do pull from my influences and inspire, what inspired me and stuff. But I feel like I've done and have my own like fingerprint in that now, So I think if there is a comparison like that, then again, I embrace it, and I think that's a great comparison. I do sometimes, and that's kind of like maybe in some kind of movement I might do on stage and stuff, and maybe there might be some kind of delivery. I think also, I know Weiland was very inspired by Bowie, and I love Bowie. So some of those, lower register vibratos,
I heard hints of it, and then
Yeah.
the the feel of Crashing Wayward gave me that early Velvet Revolver sort of vibe. I'm not calling
Yeah.
you Velvet Revolver, just the vibe
Right.
of it and where where it was going. And then I heard hints of it, and I'm glad you took it as a compliment.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I
And-
think that I'm not gonna lie, man. Weiland's one of my top five frontmen for sure.
yeah,
Um, in style, in voice, I mean, he was a great songwriter,
present, present.
and a great presence. Yeah. And that first Velvet Revolver, especially the first album, I
Yeah,
think, regardless of what the band might feel about that album, whether they thought the second album was better or not, the first album when that came out hit like a ton of bricks. I mean, it
yeah,
turned the whole world upside down, and it did resurge rock again and inspired so many other countless bands,
yeah.
so I embrace it. I don't think we get the Weiland. It's funny, the comparisons, it's not like I get a comparison. It's always when I talk to somebody, it's like, wow, you remind me of, like, I've gotten David Byrne from Talking Heads before.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's cool. Maybe it's just the way I kind of like move on stage, and I wear kind of like big blazers with, big wide shoulders or something. Um, but we've gotten U2 a lot. We've gotten Soundgarden.
Wow.
We've gotten Shine Down. I mean, I think that's goes back to not being able to really pinpoint what our sound is, because we're really inspired by, all five of us are inspired by so many different things. And I
Yeah.
think that comes across, it's like, I guess maybe that's what it is.
Do you think Mike Gillies has anything to do with how you approach your songs vocally now with Crashing Wayward?
I think that my experience with working with Gillies is top notch. Like he allowed me to be me. He didn't work with me on he allowed me to bring in my melodies. I don't think there was, I I can't recall one song where he came up with I think there wasn't work on melodies on these songs with Gillies. There were songs where I might have had certain lyrics, and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about changing that up to something more along these lines?" And he always allowed me to write it, you know. So he
Nice.
didn't come in and say, "Hey, sing this and sing it like this." He allowed me to be me, and I think that's what a great producer is going to do. It's like, and especially when you have guys that are excluding me. I'm talking about my band. My band is totally competent. They can come in and nail it. They're accomplished and they're brilliant at what they do. So for him to like, he didn't really have to do that. He gave suggestions, and I think when it comes to the song, we can take those suggestions and fight him on it if we strongly felt, you know, like
Yeah.
disagreed with him, and he could push back and saying, yeah, but it should be this, and we could keep pushing back, and it all comes down to what's for the song, what makes a song better. And of
Yeah.
course, going to be to one's perspective, right? Had we worked with a different producer, it might have been a different thing. But in this situation, we worked with Gillies, and Gillies is brilliant. I mean, he's worked on albums that have sold 150 million plus,
Yeah.
his discography, his artists that he's worked with. And so again, he got me, and he allowed me to just kind of like do the song until it was right. But going back, so the first
Yeah.
song that we did track was Breathe, and we
Right.
totally switched up the time. We'd switched up the time, kind of like signature and everything on that. And so he definitely had to coach me on that, because sometimes it's like, hum to me what you're hearing, and where it's coming in, and point to me where it's coming in, because that's not my strong suit. I can play an instrument a little bit. I can strum a guitar when I write a song and stuff, but he definitely helped me on that. But once we got Breathe out of the way, it was just like coasting all the way through.
Straightforward. And you're right. Gillies has such a rich history. And it sounds like you guys found a sweet spot with him, with the
Yeah.
music that you're doing. Look, we've tossed around a few times. We've used the word resurgence. and finding its place and inspiring new music, and we're talking Crashing Wayward. What do you think is driving that resurgence for rock and roll right now, that rock and roll sound? What does Crashing Wayward bring to this resurgence?
I think we're bringing experience. We're not necessarily kids anymore, so, and thank God, because I think about this often. If my first band broke, as much as I love that experience, my brother was in that band, and I still talk to the guitarist, the original guitarist from that band. But if that broke, my career and who I am would have been totally different, and it would not have been who I am. I would have been somebody totally different. I probably would have been the party rock, drink, party. And that's not who I am, like we grow. Like, I mean, you get wiser as you get older, so your perspective changes, your philosophies change, and I found my voice kind of like later, like in one of the last bands prior to Crashing Wayward, I found my voice, my true voice. I stopped like trying to be somebody else, and so I'm thankful that we are here where we're at, because we're bringing experience to this resurgence, I believe. And there is so much happening now. Like there is a lot of kids. There are a lot of kids picking up instruments and playing, which I think is awesome. And I think people are rock and roll. I've never agreed ever with that sentiment of rock and roll is dead. I love the song Lenny Kravitz wrote, "Rock and Roll is Dead." I mean, that's an amazing rock song. Yeah, rock and soul. But I never believed it, because people go and see rock like Foo Fighters, are packing stadiums, where all these bands are packing stadiums. People love rock and they believe in it. Like hip hop stars consider themselves rock stars, like rock and roll is not dead. But I think that it's kind of been in sleeper mode, and I think we're just kind of cracking it open right now. And I truly feel like Crashing Wayward can be in the forefront of that, and showing that there is this, under this umbrella of rock and roll, we're kind of covering this, this vast umbrella with all these different styles. And hopefully we can inspire some other people, these younger groups that are coming out, younger kids and stuff. And I'm thankful to be where we're at right now in this time, and to have this opportunity to do this.
Yeah, you're crashing through that door right now, and you're playing from
Right.
here, from the heart, not maybe earlier.
Absolutely.
Like you said, you might have been playing from here of what you thought the rock and roll guy should have sounded and looked like and acted like.
Yeah.
But now you're, pardon the pun, closer as a band to
Right.
where you all should be and where you want to be to influence the scene.
Yep.
Talking about Closer, Peter. That's you guys released that song now, and you released a video. Love the video. You tell me if I'm wrong. For me, it gave me this retro vibe when I first watched it. It brought me back to the time where I think, I used to watch here in Canada, it's Much Music. Everywhere else, I think it was MTV. But it brought me back to the rock video, right? It was like in your face, great rock video, had the angles coming in and out. Looked like you guys are having fun doing it. That's my version of what's going on in the video. But where did you shoot it? How did it all go? What's your take on
that? We shot it here in Las Vegas, and we actually shot it like in a 4-hour block before we caught a red eye to Nashville. So the whole idea was trying to get kind of like this contrasty. We wanted to be dark, and we kind of wanted to feel like you were in like an opium den of obsession. And that's really kind of like what the song really is about. It's just like kind of like being obsessed with somebody. Because I've been in relationships that aren't the best, kind of like I guess what we can call abusive. So that's kind of like from this perspective where, bat your eyes and I'll come running no matter how bad you treat me. And that's what this song really speaks about, is the obsession that we have in a terrible situation that we shouldn't even be obsessed about or, giving, the light of day to. So that's what we were trying to capture. We wanted to do a performance, kind of give it some trippy kind of like elements of just like this silhouette of, what is, we had the director's girlfriend was dancing behind us and just kind of giving this, ambiance to a relationship. And that's what we were really trying to capture. And he actually wet down the concrete floor, and I was wearing leather-soled shoes, and I was sliding everywhere. I almost fell on my face as soon as he said action for the first time. So I had to find my power stance, and that's why I'm like in one position using my upper body the whole time, using my hands. So
video secrets. I just love the angles. I just fell in love with the angles and the camera.
Yeah.
Even though your life was in danger while you were doing it.
Right. Yeah, it's worth it though,
Yeah.
So
good video. Good
I've
video.
taken a fall on stage before, and yeah.
Did you have one of those rock star moments where you're coming down the stairs and you go tumbling, or
No,
yeah?
It was actually we were playing Brooklyn Bowl, and we were opening up for Puddle of Mud, and again my same boots, man, my leather sole, but they give me the best movement where I'm able to just like do some slides or whatever I want to do. But I took a tumble and I almost took Stacey with me. I grabbed his arm, his arm. And it's funny, Eddie Trunk was actually at this show.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you pulled that off, man. I went down, I hit my knee, I came back up and just like right back into it. And it's all part of the show. You gotta, blood, sweat, and tears.
The show must go on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Poor Stacey
Yeah.
too. Like, what the hell, right? What's going on here?
Oh, he looked mortified. I was scared that I was gonna ruin, his like playing, but he was more scared that I just broke my knee or whatever. So
you're gonna have to call Grohl and Axl Rose and borrow the stage chair or whatever to sing out of the stage.
Hopefully
chair.
not.
Right.
Hopefully not. That would be a very boring Crashing Wayward show because we're all performance, all energy. So yeah.
Do you have like 11 tracks on the album Listen? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I mean, it's cliche, but they're all my kids, so you can't pick a favorite, I mean, there's definitely ones that I listen to more. I think the ones that probably mean the most to me would be Tilly and Stranger Days. Tilly probably being my favorite at the moment. I know my kids love Stranger Days a lot too. But I would probably go with Tilly at the moment. I love that song. And I think that's kind of like, I've been hearing that a lot lately from a lot of people that have been reaching out to me or, kind of like press and reviews. There's some strong connection to Tilly and a lot of people, I feel like. So I'm going to go with Tilly.
Tilly it is. Tilly's number one for you. For me, before we started getting on here, I had listened to Stranger Days about 10 times. And there's just something about,
cool.
The melody and the lyrics. And so I'm with the kids right now for me, but Closer is like right there. And I don't know, I could go down the list.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sure that tomorrow I'll have another song and I'll listen to that one 12 times. So.
Right. I mean, every time I listen to be honest, every time I hear Stranger Days, I'm like, I can't believe I wrote and sung that, well, co-wrote lyrics and melody.
Yeah. It's just solid. It's a great melody. It just takes me to, there's certain songs that, could take you to another place and time. And for me, Stranger Days kind of does that in a different way. So, we talked about your kids and daughters a fair bit too, Peter. Your daughter, is it true she's on the cover of the album?
Yes. Yeah, my oldest daughter.
Right on. You had to convince her to that, or was she happy to do that?
Oh, no. She's a model. She's an aspiring model. And so that was actually during COVID too. So we shot that. That was from the Breathe session originally. So that's hence why we had the tape originally there. That was part of the first concept of that. And so the Breathe single art actually was a different session of her actually screaming without the tape. But the tape was super powerful, and that's been used. It's been used before in, some campaign, No Hate campaign in California. I believe that was in 2008. Yeah, No Hate. And that was, kind of a campaign for silent protest for the rights for gay marriage and stuff, because I was up on the bill at that time. So it's been used for that. I've seen it in other shoots and everything, but there was something about this shoot and the eyes that she had conveying the message. And it's more of kind of like what we hope is hope. She's conveying this message of hope. And, so we just felt very strongly that the asset was there in the original Breathe session. And we tried developing a different album cover, and we just went back to it. We said, this is too powerful. There's too big of a message here. And so it is it. And no convincing. She's happy to do it. I'm trying to get her to post it more on her social media and get some more followers over to us. But
send us her social media. We'll include it in the notes.
Yeah,
it's a great, very impactful cover. She's done a wonderful job on it, and it just fits, like, with the words "listen" right underneath the tape, and the eyes, and they draw you in, and it's just perfect cover. Very impactful. So hats off to her for doing that, Peter.
Yeah.
Look, we're recording this on the 27th. I'm going to throw dates out there, and I usually don't, because by the time sometimes I get this to production, but we're recording this on June 27th. Tomorrow night, June 28th, is your album release party. Where is that? What's going to happen there? What's that all about?
Yeah, that is taking place here in Las Vegas, which is where I'm at now. I relocated to Vegas to be with the band. And we are having the album release party at the Industrial Sound, which is a new space. It's going amazing space, amazing stage, amazing lighting show. My brother, who is a legendary graffiti artist worldwide, I gotta send you his social Instagram as handle as well. He's a legend. I always say that if graffiti street art was rock, it would be a legit rock. So he's coming in, he's doing a lot of the artwork and graphics, and he's doing live painting. He has another good friend, Mike Giant, who's another legend, coming out and helping out with the night. So we're doing something that's really immersive, where it's kind of like a mini festival. And we like to do things that's a little outside the box than your more typical straight up rock and roll plug in and play kind of thing. We really kind of think we're almost conceptual in a lot of ways, and we like to put a lot of art and imagery behind what we do, and especially our live show. So it's going to be a special night. And the crew here is amazing. It's, these guys have worked with everybody from Justin Timberlake to Three Doors Down. So they know what they're doing, and I can't wait for tomorrow. So that's tomorrow at the Industrial Sound. We'll have food trucks, art, us, 50-cent beers, not Molson or Pap, or yeah. But
50-cent beers? No way.
50-cent beers. I wish it was Molson Ice, but I can't say it is, or Labbatt's. But yeah, we're doing it.
Are you a big fan of Molson Ice? Is that what I'm hearing?
There was a time where when I was listening to a ton of Skid Row in my and I still love Skid Row, Slave to the Grind.
Great album.
Yeah. And Sebastian Bach spoke of Molson. That was the beer I had to drink. So yeah.
Peter, I gotta tell you, there's another Molson product, and I talked about this with another artist that has been on the show and is on our other products too, Salme Dahlstrom. It's a product that's called Molson High Dry. Have you ever heard of High Dry?
No.
It has one of the highest alcohol contents that you can get in a beer, and they didn't sell it in Ontario here where I am for a long time. They would only sell it in the province of Quebec. I don't even know if it still made it its way to Ontario, but it would destroy you. Like having one beer is like having three. So,
Really? Wow.
yeah,
All I
yeah.
need
It's
then.
amazing. And the last time I got my hands on it, a friend of mine who went to Montreal brought me back. They made it in I think it was a 1.5 liter bottle.
Uh-huh. Really?
Anyways, I gotta send you that link and see if what you think of that, or try and get you one if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look,
Please do.
the songs on this album, you've given us an amazing rock journey. You and the band have. I want to say this: if anybody's holding out, I want to tell them, go get the album, sit down with it, spend some time absorbing the lyrics and the music. It's one of my favorite new albums out there. It gives you some real hard rock. It gives you some great melodies. It's got some deep lyrics. It's got a bunch of guys whose passion for this album oozes out in every single song, and it's rare to find that passion in the songs these days. I know every artist loves their songs and puts something into it. This is something special. And so now that I'm done fanboying on Crashing Wayward, Peter, and your new music, I know that you got a ton of stuff. You're at the venue right now where you're going to do your release party. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. And before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with?
I just want to thank everybody who's listening to this, and please follow us on all socials at Crashing Wayward. Subscribe to our YouTube, and just spread the word everywhere. And if you can, go on our website, crashingwayward.com, and buy the physical CD. We do have a vinyl coming out that goes directly to supporting the band and keeps us on the road and in the studio, and hopefully coming to Canada soon. And yeah, thank you all.
I'll need a ticket. Thank you, Peter Summit, lead vocals from Crashing Wayward, who's brought us closer to the mouth of God's ear as we pass through stranger days and shake the dead awake. We'll be doing so much more than staring at the ceilings. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, head on over to crashingwayward.com and grab a copy of Listen. You can also hear Crashing Wayward on thepathradio.com, where they have 2 songs from the album in the top 20. Thanks again for doing this with us, Peter. Thank you, and I hope you come back again.
All right. Thank you, Guida. Thank you so much.